Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm going to give it a couple seconds here for everybody to join the webinar this afternoon. Thanks for taking the time to be a part of this. I'm super excited to give this demo, and I hope that you find this super valuable. I'm going to give it a couple more seconds for everybody to come in. If anyone wants to type in the chat, say hi to whoever's around, that would be fun. I've got the chat open here on the right, so I'm going to try to answer any questions as they come in during the session. If I don't get to a question that you ask, we'll have a record of them so I can reach out personally, so don't worry. And I'll also be sharing my contact info at the end of the session if you want to reach out about anything. But welcome, welcome, happy afternoon. If you are on the East Coast, probably still morning for any West Coasters and others around the globe. Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday so far. Let's get into it. So my name is Jamie Goff. I am a research manager here at NACS. In my tenure here, I have worked on our compensation survey and former compensation report, which is what I'm here to talk about today. This is something that I am super passionate about, and I love working with all of our HR folks in the industry. So I'm so pleased that you are joining us, and I hope you're as excited about this as I am. If you are familiar with the compensation survey, this is an annual survey that NACS puts out. It usually opens in September, kind of late fall, and closes within the first first month, really in the following year. The survey is put out by me. Once we close the survey, all of the data is aggregated and put into formally what you're seeing up on the screen right now, our compensation report. So this report was a PDF. Actually, originally it was a printed book. It then transitioned into a PDF, then transitioned into a locked down PDF where you would have to go in, scroll through the data that you wanted and find, whatever you were looking for, whether that was compensation and benefits or recruitment, retention, turnover, anything like that. So we, heard from a lot of folks that this was not the easiest way to view this data. I know that there are a lot of companies out there that do salary benchmarking and still provide PDFs, but there are also companies that have more database focused resources. And that is something that we were really trying to evolve this product into as we thought about, your feedback on the report and how could we make it, so much or how can we evolve this thing and make it better and easier to use? So as we thought through that and listened to a lot of feedback, we came up with this idea to do a dashboard. And this is what the data looks like today. I did do a webinar on this a couple weeks ago. So if you joined that, you're familiar with, what the new product is. But for those who are not familiar, this is what our new compensation report is. It is no longer a report. We have evolved it into this Talent Insights Dashboard. It is an interactive Power BI dashboard. It is clickable. You can kind of navigate a lot easier. It has a main page with, a drop-down menu for easy access to kind of click through the data and find what you need. For any retailers who participate in our survey, so you'd be familiar with, normally we provide access to the results, complimentary. We did, it was 2 licenses for the report. Something new for the dashboard this year is that it's enterprise access. So as many licenses as your company wants, if you participate in the survey, you can get that. And you just, submit to me the names of someone. If they're not already in the database, I can set them up with a license. It is super easy. And another new thing for this year is the ability to download the current year, which would be 2023's data in Excel. So this is not something that we've had available in the past, which I'm super excited about for the dashboard. You'll be able to, pull that data down in Excel. It'll be the format of the Excel survey. So if you participate in the survey in Excel, it's the same format. So super easy to find the data that you need. And you can just grab it right out of the dashboard. And I'm going to show how you can do that today. So we're super excited about it. And the dashboard is actually available now for all. So for participating companies in the survey, you should have received a note from me with your email, with your access, how to get to the dashboard, how and any additional licenses that you needed. I should have worked with you on that at this point. If you haven't received any information from me, please do reach out and I'll make sure that you're all set up. For companies who did not participate in the survey, we are available now to purchase. There are different tiers of price based on membership or non-membership at NACS. So NACS members can purchase the 1-year dashboard for $3.99, and then for non-members, it'll be $5.99. And then obviously, as I mentioned, for participating retailers, you get access to the data for because we appreciate the time and effort that you put into being a part of the survey. So when you purchase the data or when you purchase the dashboard, if you participated, this is how you get access to it. So you'll go to convenience.org and then you go to My Purchase Content. An important piece of this is that you do have to be logged in at convenience.org. So if you, for some reason or whatever, you don't have your password, you don't know your login, you can reach out to me and I can get that to you super easily and super quickly. So no worries there, but you do need to be logged in. It's under My NACS and My Purchase Content. You'll see a little notice for the Talent Insights Dashboard, and that's where you'll click. So now I'm going to get into the demo, the meat of this thing. Just give me 1 second to pull it up. Okay. So when you log into convenience.org, you go to My NACS, My Purchase Content, you click on the dashboard, this is what you're going to see. This is the landing page for the Talent Insights Dashboard. A couple of important pieces. When you get into here, there are 3 little icons down on the bottom right. And this is what I want to point out before we start getting into the meat of the dashboard. So the first one is, it looks like a little Excel sheet. You click on it, this is how you can download the Excel data. So you just click on this little button here, the data will download automatically. It's super easy, super quick. You shouldn't have any issues with it. But we've also provided on this page the methodology for the survey. So if you're curious about, the timing or anything like that, you can check that out. We've got some changes to the survey. So every summer, before we deploy the next year's survey, I, ask, what are we missing? Is there something that we should be including here? Do we need additional positions or whatever it is that we might need? So every year we do, audit, evaluate, and make sure that we're making this thing the best thing that it can be. So for this year, the 2023 survey, we added a benchmark on social media screening. So if you're curious about the percentage of companies that are doing something like that, that's going to be available in this year's data. And then we've also got, some definitions around firm sizes. So if you're curious, what does a C size operator as NACS reports look like? That's what you've got down here. So there's some information here on the Excel download page. The second icon here is information. So if you click on the information page, this is going to bring up all of the terms and definitions that are in the survey. So if you had a question around, what exactly, does NACS define as a supervisor or district manager, this is what you'll get here. So it's got all of our executive positions, all of the operations positions, and then all of the store level. You can see there's a whole bunch of them. We've also got statistical definitions in here. If you had questions about min, max, mean, all of that good stuff, that's in there. It's especially important is the percentiles because we do have a lot of percentile data in the dashboard. The next one is healthcare definitions. So, if you're talking about PPOs or HMOs, when you get into the benefits section of the dashboard, that's what you'll see here. And then there's some other miscellaneous, definitions that are also, used within the tool if you had any questions. So the last icon here is the submit a question icon. And you're always welcome to email me at any point. Jenna dropped my email into the chat, so you can grab it there. You can grab it on the landing page for the website, for the dashboard. You can grab it off convenience.org. But if you don't feel like going through the trouble, you can click on that little button and it'll bring up, this opportunity for you to just type in your question and submit it to me automatically. It will populate your name, not my name here. You just put your question in, or even if you have, a comment, or if you want to ask me about anything else NACS related, you can do it here. I don't mind. All you have to do is click submit and it will send me an email automatically. So super easy way to just get in contact with me if you ever need to. Okay, so now we're going to get into some of the data. So this is super exciting. The last time I did this demo, we were using demo data because we didn't have the 2023 in, but at this point, we do have 2023 data. So what you're seeing now is active. I'm not going to go through it all, but I'm going to show you that it is active. As you go through the dashboard, it's the same format for the former report. If you are familiar with the structure of the report, started with salaries, base salary, as well as other compensation, benefits, including medical, dental, vision, all of that, additional wellness benefits, and then paid time off. And in recruitment and retention, we've got all of our recruitment metrics, as well as the screening tools that I mentioned, productivity and cost metrics, training and engagement, and then turnover. So to kind of quickly show you how this works and how you navigate it, if you were to click into operations, you'll have the option to look at all of the operations positions. We've got base salary and bonuses and other compensation. And then down at the bottom, it will calculate the sum of those two numbers to create the total cash comp. So if you want to look at the overall comp for a position. You can then click into a particular one, for example, benefits manager, and it will break out just that position. When you click into a specific position, you'll see the option to analyze by store band here. But before we do that, there is also an option to click into positions here. If you wanted to compare, for example, two positions like a district manager and a fuel driver, you could do that. We're not going to do that. So we'll just go back to our benefits manager. So now we're here and we want to analyze by store band. When you analyze by store band, it will break out the different store size classifications, like I mentioned earlier in the terms and definitions. So if you wanted to look at a particular company size, you can do it that way. Something else that also pops up when you click into a position is that definition, the description. So if you did want to see that specific to the data on the content page, you could do it that way. We've also included bonus types, and this is the percentage of companies that offer these bonus types to that role, as well as projected salary change year over year. And this is basically, are you budgeting for a 3% or 4% or something in the middle in terms of base salary change. If you see something like this, it means the data was not enough to populate in that line. So think about it like an NA. So that's what it means if you see a yellow bar across the data. And this is available for all of the executive positions, all of the operation, and all of the operations positions. If you click into the store level positions, we have two different options here. You'll see this little toggle or on-off switch, whatever you want to call it, to look at store salaried positions or store hourly positions. Now, the store salaried positions are the same setup as the executive and operations. When you click in, you'll see the analyze for store band. It looks pretty much the same. But if you click on store hourly, it's going to be a little different because we don't have, obviously, a salary and other additional compensation. We have unburdened and burdened rate. And so the burden rate is what's included with fringe benefits. But you can also still click into each position. It will still give you those two data points down here, and it will also still give you the option to analyze by store band. So if you want to click into store band, it looks a little differently because we don't have bonus types for these roles. So instead, you're seeing the hourly rate change just spread across the bottom here. So now if we go back to the main menu and we want to look at benefits, for example, we've got a lot of different benefits here. It's the same data that you're used to seeing in the former report. It's just going to be a little bit different formatted. So just maybe take a second to get used to it. On this landing page, what we're looking at is the percentage of companies that offer a particular benefit. So, and it's ranked by store band. So for all companies down at the bottom here, you can see, what percentage of them offer health insurance to these different employee types. So it's broken out by corporate, store managerial, and store hourly, just like it would have been in the report. If you want to look at one in particular, you can do that just by clicking on these radio buttons, and it will highlight the data for that particular employee type. Something a little different on this page is that you can click on store band by going to one of these drop downs and clicking a particular store band that you're interested in. You can also filter by pay type, which is different than employee type over here. So here we're looking at exempt versus non-exempt, which you'll see more of in this benefits section compared to any of the other sections. It's if an employee is eligible for overtime. So when you look, you can click deeper into each of the different types of standard benefits, is what we're calling them. So you've got medical benefits. If you click into here, you're going to see all of the medical information that we provide around, this type of benefit. It looks like a lot, so I would suggest you either first filter by store band size or by pay type. That will get rid of some of the data here and make it look much less cluttered. So if you wanted to look at 50 to 200 stores, for example, it's going to filter all of that data out by this store size in particular. And I think everything's pretty self-explanatory, but just to go over it, you've got percent eligible and percent of eligible employees versus percent of participating employees. You've got your average wait time for benefits to kick in. You've got your contributions for single and family, for company versus employee. And then you've got your contribution percent. And then you've got in the bottom, health insurance as a percent of payroll. So those are what the metrics are on this page. And filtering is going to be your friend for making sure that it doesn't look super overwhelming. If we go to the dental page, this data is the same, the same filtering technique applies. This is going to be the same across all of the benefits pages. And here what we're looking at is the percent of eligible employees who participate in dental. And this is the same data in this chart as there is in the table down here. The only thing that's added here is the average company contribution. And again, I would recommend filtering. You can filter by doing this up at the top right. You could also do it across the top. Anytime you see one of these, they're called radio buttons. You can click on one and it will filter the data that way for you and make it just much easier to see and look at. If we click into life insurance here, again, same rules apply. It's starting to get a little repetitive. You can click into one employee type if you like. And here what we're looking at is the percent of eligible employees, the percent of participating employees, the coverage, the percent of the employee salary that's covered, the annual coverage, and then the premium per employee. This data up here is going to be the same as this data down here. It's just visualized. So you can see the percent who participate, the eligibility percentage, and then the percent of salary. And over here is the life insurance coverage. So it's the same data, it's just visualized. And then lastly, on the standard plans, we have retirement plans. So in this data, we are looking at the percent of eligible employees who participate, and then the company matching contribution. This data is the same as this data. It's just easier to see for some folks. Some folks are visual. So if you want to filter, you can filter by company size. If I want to look at all companies and then break it out by a position type, I can do that. So it filters. It's really easy once you get the hang of it. You just kind of have to get used to clicking on the right things. So that covers all of our standard plans, but we also have additional wellness plans that we report on. So these are the things like bonus incentive programs, career development, and this is the percent of companies that offer this benefit to a particular role. So either corporate, store manager, or store hourly. That's how the roles are broken out. And here at the top, a little bit different filtering. You've got the same, you can select by store size if you want, let's say 11 to 50, and it'll filter out all of that data just for that store type. Or, which I think is a neat way to do it on this page, you can filter by benefit. So if you wanted to look specifically at education and tuition assistance, you could do that and it'll filter it out by store. You can see all the different store sizes and the employee types. Pardon me. So that's a cool way to filter on this page. It's a little different than the other one. Lastly, in benefits, we have paid time off. So this is the amount of days an employee gets upon hire, after a year, after 2 years, 5 years, and 10 years. So here you can filter by store band, and you can filter by pay type. You can also click across the top on the radio buttons, and it'll just filter out that data for you by store size. All right, so lastly, our recruitment and retention section. So here's where we've got all of our recruiting and turnover data. When you first click into it, this is the recruitment and assess page. And we try to name these pages based on the data that's included, but it might take just a little bit of familiarity to, recognize what's going to be on each page. But here we're looking at acceptance rate and ghost rate. So the number of, the percentage of employees who accept the role, and then the percentage of employees who accept the role but then don't show up on their first day, ghost rate. Thank you, Gen Z, for that one. Then on the next table here, we've got job applications received per job opening, as well as interviews here. So if you're looking at a particular employee type, which I would recommend filtering, you can see the median applications here, the average applications, the average number of interviews conducted before a hiring decision is made, and then the number of days to hire. I'm just going to filter because that's a little bit easier to see the data. So that's how it looks when you do that. Down at the bottom, we've got the screening tools used by position type. So the percentage of employees that use aptitude tests, that perform criminal background checks, DMV background checks, that kind of stuff. So if I unfilter this for a second here, just so you can see it all, this is pretty interesting data. The new thing that we added this year was the social media screening. And so I'm just going to click on that so you can see what it looks like if you wanted to look at a particular screening tool. So this will just filter out the social media screening. Additionally, if you wanted to filter out something that is very commonly used, like criminal background checks, you can do it that way, and it will show for each employee type the percentage of companies that do perform criminal background checks for the role. So kind of a cool way to visualize that data. Then on the next page, we're looking at productivity and cost. So here we're looking at the cost to hire and the cost to train, as well as some of those two, if you wanted to look at them summed. To filter through, let's filter through for a full-time hourly associate. So here we're looking at the cost to hire versus the cost to train, and that's an annualized training cost there, just as a note. But if you ever have a question on what a certain data point means, just feel free to reach out or shoot me an email. Down at the bottom, we're looking at days to hire and days to productivity and that total sum there. So you could kind of see, where's the gap in, the day that someone leaves, or I guess the day that you hire someone versus how long it takes them, to be productive on site. That number, that time adds up, right? And that's one of the softer costs of turnover, right? Is the time that it takes to get someone in the role and also up to speed. Here on the right, we're looking at the overtime cost as a percentage of payroll. So how much are those overtime hours costing? And again, we can filter by store band on the top if you wanted to do it that way. Or we can also filter by employee type or job role. On the training and engagement page, here we're looking at exit interviews as kind of a part of employee engagement, right? You have the opportunity to learn, what was missing or what made someone, decide not to stay with your company. So for the chart, what you're seeing is the percentage of companies who conduct exit interviews for involuntary terminations as well as voluntary terminations. Obviously, they're more common for a voluntary termination, but it does look like some folks are using them for involuntary as well. Employee engagement here is the percentage of companies who are conducting employee engagement programs, and that could be something like a survey. It doesn't have to be a survey, but a lot of the time it is. And then the average frequency between those programs. So how long, is it an annual thing? Is it a biannual or what have you? So that's the average time between those programs. And then here we're looking at the training hours in the first 90 days. And then down here, we're looking at what is the type of training. And this is only broken out for food service versus non-food service employees. So you can see the job specific training. If you wanted to click right into that, it will highlight just that part of the training. Again, this is kind of the same thought process for different things around the tool. A lot of things are clickable. You can't break it, so feel free to click on as much as you need to. Again, I would highly recommend filtering because that's going to give you, less congestion on the page and make it a little bit easier to see. Okay, so lastly is going to be our turnover information. We have, I guess, 4 tables on this page. The top left is the 30, 60, 90-day turnover, and you can break it out by full-time and store manager. On the bottom, you've got the length of service. So this is tenure and it's monthly tenure. So don't think that that's 25 years for a part-time sales associate. It's 25 months, and that's the 75th percentile. So that's at the highest end. On the right-hand side, this is all turnover. It's all the same data. It's just broken out into 2 tables because this top one is operational positions and the bottom is store level positions. And we just did this to visually break it up so that it's easier for you to kind of scroll through and see what you need. So on the top, you've got your operational staff, total turnover, involuntary turnover, and then voluntary resignations. In the bottom chart, you've got all of your store level positions, so store managers, excuse me, store managers, assistant store managers, full-time associates, part-time associates, and it's all broken out by total turnover, involuntary, involuntary. Fun little nugget of information while you're here. I hope you're still here on the call. The total turnover for sales associates this year was up if you combine full-time and part-time. But when we broke it out by full-timers and part-timers, that full-time associate turnover was actually down by 5 points. And it was really the part-time associates that were bringing up the total associate turnover this year, which was kind of interesting. You don't usually see a ton of decreases in turnover. So with that, that's kind of all of the pages that you can get to from the dashboard. At this point, I am going to flip it back over to my PowerPoint for just a couple of minutes. We're coming towards the end here. I will try to check in on the chat to see where everybody is. If I don't get to your question, please forgive me. I'm a one-woman show right now trying to manage this. So I will definitely get to you, I promise. But let me just pull this PowerPoint back up. As we wrap up, a couple of other just pieces of information that hopefully you'll find useful. The first is that we're super excited this year. We did something, we didn't just do the one dashboard. I know it's like, I'm so excited we got this one dashboard. We actually did 2 dashboards. So there is going to be a 5-year version of this tool available. I took the past 5 years worth of survey data, we aggregated it, we put it in this tool, and we created this version of the dashboard where it'll allow you to see 5 years in a row worth of data. And I think this is going to be super cool and super useful just as we see so much change go on in the industry and the labor market, and what's really going on, with the data. It's sometimes easier to visually look at it versus, just pulling numbers. So I took a couple of screenshots of this thing, and if you're interested in it, as a participating company, it's just $199 to upgrade to the 5-year version if you're interested in that. For non-participating companies, there is, for a retailer, it's going to be $699 because there's a ton of data in this thing. But I would be happy to talk to anyone if you're interested in upgrading to the 5-year version. There's a couple of screenshots that I put in here just so you can kind of see what it looks like visually. It's going to be the same breakdown as the 1 year in terms of the drop-down menu and all of the data that's in there. But in addition to having the store size breakout, you're going to have this analyze trend breakout. And this will bring you to a page where you can see, we've got all the percentiles in here as well as the years worth of data. So you can kind of see how things have grown, which I think is really interesting to look at. This is another screenshot of it. So if you wanted to look at This is paid time off for an exempt store manager. So you can see, the years of data in there. So I'm super excited about this version of the tool as well. And I hope that you all will find it interesting at the very least. And with that, my last final comment before I let you go, and we're a little early, so hopefully that's, good for everyone. If you, and let me put myself back on here. Hello again, everyone. So if you're available next week, if you have not yet registered for our HR forum, I didn't put a slide in here, but maybe Jenna could put in the reg link for HR forum. I'll be there in Jacksonville Monday and Tuesday. The event is Monday through Wednesday of next week. And we're going to be talking all things HR. I'm going to be doing a presentation of this data, as well as, some additional nuggets and things that I've found over the year, talk about kind of what's changed from last year to this year. It's going to be a super great event. So if, obviously you're at least somewhat interested in HR by being a part of this webinar. So if you can make the time to come down to Jacksonville next week, maybe that would be a good use of your time. So with that, thank you very much. I do see a couple things in the chat. I will get back to you on them personally, but thank you all very much for the time. I appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week. Thanks.